Alrighty, guys, how's it going out there? Rooster and 10, roostercb.com. Just a little radio inventory update video. And as we go through these, I'll do what I usually do and talk about each one kind of briefly, hit the high notes, and tell you what kind of amp I recommend to run with them, because that's one of the biggest questions I get from folks out there. They get these radios and have no idea what kind of amp they can run with it, what kind of amp is compatible. It's like a couple of days ago, I had a guy with a 497 that he didn't buy from here asking me about running it with a 2-drive and 8. Well, that would be a good example of amp and a radio that are not compatible. So 497 does way too much power for a 2-drive and 8. It would kill the driver section. But anyway, we'll talk about each one, guys, and this is just available in addition to what's already on the website. And some of these, I have 5 or 6 of them available. Some of them I just have a couple available. Some of them I even just have one. So just a little bit of a mix of everything there. And we will update the inventory tonight after we get this video posted up here. So burning a little bit of the midnight oil tonight there. So with that being said, let's just jump into it and not take any longer than we need to. We'll be kind of quick with this video, hopefully. Relatively rapid fire and go through this because a lot of this stuff we've already covered before. Starting with the left, RCI X9, starting on the left, I guess I should say. RCI X9, that one's going to have the performance tune done to it. You'll be looking at somewhere between 150 and 175 watts PEP and probably around 50 to 65 watts average or bird output there. And my amp recommendations for that radio are going to be a 6-pill HG 2879 standard or a 4-pill 2879C. Either one of those is going to work, okay? Next radio beside it is going to be kind of the same story as far as the amp recommendation goes. That's a Stryker 497, and it is going to be fully upgraded, or all the way, as I like to call it here at Rooster CB. That's the final upgrade, the AM regulator upgrade, and the average power / modulation mod. So you're going to be in that same sort of ballpark as far as the output goes. The 497 will probably do a little bit more average power. PEP is going to be relatively close. Probably a little bit more PEP too. Probably closer to the 170 to 190. Maybe even 200 watt PEP range. It's going to be right. It's going to be a little bit stouter than the X9, but again, it has a final upgrade and stuff as well. Moving on, next we've got the 2 different 955s here. So what I want to say first is the 955 to the right is going to be your version 2 955, the longer chassis or whatever. That's going to be probably, I can almost certainly say, the last one of those available. Okay, so if you do prefer the version 2, this one's going to be fully upgraded all the way. Final upgrade, regulator upgrade, average power, mod, everything done to it. It's probably going to be the last one of those available. The biggest difference, again, I've covered this in the past. I've done videos on each one of them. The HPC Plus, or what I like to call the version 3, it has that voltage boost board inside of it, and it does do a little bit more power. So my recommendation for either one of these is going to be, at the bare minimum, now this is going to be maxing this amp out, but at the bare minimum, you need a 4-pill HG 2879 standard. Standard 4-pill HG 2879 is going to be the bare minimum. Now, what's my recommendation? I personally recommend, again, the same thing as the 2 radios on the left. They're not going to drive a 6-pill or a 4-pill 2879C as hard as the radios on the left. They're going to give you a little bit of headroom. But you're right there in that area with the output on those radios to where you're kind of maxing out a regular 4-pill and you're kind of cruising the next step up. So you got to kind of pick which way you want to go. Do you want to max out one, or would you rather cruise another? Again, that's all up to the customer, but those are my recommendations. They're obviously 125 to 150 watt PEP radios after they have been upgraded. And I have a few of the HPC Plus or the version 3. And again, I'm pretty sure on that version 2, I'm thinking that's the last one I have And if it is, it's probably going to be the last one ever sold here. Outside if I get some used ones or some trade-ins. Moving down the line next is a way different radio, and that's the Longhorn N6, my favorite radio from Ranger, probably hands down, because the output, because of how durable they are, and the very, 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 very limited amount of issues that I have seen with the Longhorn Superior N6. Have not seen a lot of issues out of them. Some radios, we have people tear stuff up, stuff goes out on them. It's just part of the way things are today. But very, very limited issues with the Longhorn. I think probably have sold somewhere between 50 and 75 of them, and have probably had a couple that have had to go back for warranty. One that I can remember, maybe two. So anyway, one of my favorite radios out there, do a phenomenal job. 700 to 800 watt PEP, maybe a little bit less on sideband. But that leads to the next question or the next issue. What kind of amp can you run with this? Okay. Some people get a Longhorn and they have a hard time computing in their brains like, well, I want to go from 800 watts to 2000 watts, but I want to keep my Longhorn. It's not really possible, because you have two options with a Longhorn. You can either run it with the amp section on and do 700-800 watts PEP, or you can run it with the amp section off and you're going to do about 100 watts PEP. Okay, well, what are you going to run this thing into if you run the 100 watt side of it? Probably a 4-pill or a 6-pill. That's going to put you in that 1000 watt mark, 800 to 1000 watts. Well, that's what your radio already does with the amp section on. With the amp section turned on the Longhorn, doing 700-800 watts, you got two options. A 16-pill 2879C, which they run really well with, or my personal pick, a 24-pill HG 2879 standard. I know what you're thinking, that's crazy. Those are big amps. Well, isn't there anything else I can run with it? And the answer is no. When you buy a radio that does 700-800 watts, 700 to 800 watts, you need to be prepared if you ever want to upgrade into an amplifier that you're going to have to spend, a few $1,000s, $2,000 to $3,000 on that amplifier so it can handle your radio. Okay, that's the next step up, and that's a big step. I mean, that's an investment worth doing. You will see a significant difference going from a Longhorn to driving it into a bigger amp. And that's really my rule of thumb for people when they're talking about doing upgrades. People ask me, this is a little bit off the beaten path here, but a lot of times people will ask me, as far as amplifiers go, what is a worthwhile upgrade? And maybe I need to do a video on that and talk about it a little bit, but what is a worthwhile upgrade when it comes to amplifiers? I'm not the type to tell you, buy a 2-pill, buy a 4-pill, buy 6, buy 8, buy 10, and do that crap. If you buy a 4 and you ask me, well, what should I upgrade it into? I would at least recommend tripling your power. So if you're going from a 4 and you really want to upgrade and make a serious difference, I would recommend going to a 12. Some people will say double your power and go to an 8. Really, ideally, you want to take whatever you're running and turn it into a driver for your next box. That's how you make huge differences, as far as, measurable differences as far as running the amplifier goes, is taking what you're running and turning that into your driver. So if you got a 4-pill, it's like, well, what can I drive my 4-pill into? Upgrade to a 16. That's not really feasible for everybody, so I would say tripling your power would be the next step. Okay, so that's the deal with the Longhorn. 16C, 24 standard, those are your options. Next radio, Superstar SS676. This one is fully upgraded, so I need to do a video on it to compare it to how our other one does that I'm calling the Performance Plus. The Performance Plus has the performance tune and the regulator upgrade. This would be the all-the-way version. The only difference being this one has the final upgrade as well. So we'll kind of see how they compare. You guys can be the judge yourself and say, well, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Whatever. Some radios, guys, it doesn't make sense to do the final upgrade too. Some radios just do not. They do not change. It does not change the output significantly enough to justify it. If you're only gaining 5 watts or something, it's not worth the time to do it. Okay. If you can gain 25 or 30 watts, yeah, maybe it's worth doing to some people. You know, that ends up turning into several hundred watts when you're driving it to an amp. But that being said, this is going to be another one of those radios with similar output to like a Stryker 955, to where you're going to be maxing out a 4-pill, or you'll kind of be cruising a 6. Now, when you ask me which would I rather do, max out the 4 or kind of cruise the 6, I would rather cruise the bigger amp, you know, play it safe and leave some headroom. That's just me. Okay, so that's the deal with the Stryker 676. For those that prefer, or the Superstar 676, I may have been calling that thing a Stryker the whole time because they're like a Stryker 447, okay? No big secret there. I also have some 447s in stock. Excuse me. Okay, last radio, but not least. I have not carried these before, but I'll tell you guys, a lot of my local friends talk on these. I can think of at least 3 or 4 of them that talk on them, and they're really good sounding radios. They haven't given them any issues, so that tells me, hey, maybe that's a radio that I need to start carrying and selling. If it's trouble free and it sounds good over the air, it's something that I should sell. I try not to sell stuff that I wouldn't run myself. If it's going to give you guys trouble, or if it's something that I don't think is of good quality, I'm not going to sell it. That's why a lot of people say, well, you don't have all these radios in stock that some of these places have. That's right, because if I wouldn't run it myself, I don't want to sell it to you guys. Now, of course, there are certain radios that I would rather run over others. You know, I'm a Cobra 29 old school radio. That's my thing. But all the radios that I sell, I would run in the right application, or if I needed to run one and talk on it, I would, and would not be afraid of them tearing up or anything like that. So the President Washington is going to fall into that category. We'll kind of see how it does with the performance video. I'll do an individual video of it, and you guys can kind of tell me what you think about it there, and we'll see how they sell. You know, if they sell good, it'll be something I continue to get in, and if I have to sit on them for 3 or 4 months before they sell, then I probably won't get any more of them in. But we'll see how they do. President Washington, this is going to be one of those radios, probably, you know, looking at a 4-pill 2879 standard will probably be the ideal amp to run with this. But we'll kind of see how it does. We'll do an individual test video on it. That'll come in the coming days here. So that being said, guys, I appreciate everybody tuning into the channel. As always, even if you don't spend any money with me, I appreciate the comments, the views, everything like that. So, and of course, we appreciate those that decide to do business with us. Very grateful for that. So everybody have a good one out there. As I always say, I hope you guys are enjoying the hobby, making the most of it. Keep CB Radio alive. Keep everything going strong out there. And hopefully we'll catch you out on the band sometime. Everybody have a good day. Rooster and 10. RoosterCB.com. Catch you guys out there. See you. Bye.